All right, writers, welcome to the first session of our mini unit. We're going to be using this few sessions for us to get back into writing stories. I don't know if you remember back in the beginning of the year, but we spent our first unit, our first couple months, writing narratives, writing personal narratives, but we were writing stories. We spent a lot of time in between then and now writing essays and then history reports, but now we are back to story writing. And I'm really excited for this because I think it's a really fun and creative way to write. So the first step in our journey here as writers is to generate. That's the first step in the writing process. We have to generate some ideas. So the way that I'm going to show you how to do this is to just recall a great story that maybe you've read or you could even have watched the movie, and use that as an inspiration to spark a new story. I'm going to show you how this is going to work. So once we've done that, we've had a chance to come up with a story that we know and love. You really want to either reread it or rewatch it a little bit, and then pay attention to maybe the theme or the lessons that pop into your mind as you listen to the story or you watch. And then you're going to choose an idea to write about. And then when you go to write about the story, you have to remember to include the story elements. So definitely the characters and the setting, but then also action and reaction, dialogue, and inner thinking. You need to make sure that you're showing why the characters did what they did in the story. And then, of course, using precise details and descriptive language so that readers can picture the setting, the characters and events, and really feel like they're there. All right, let's get generating. I thought we would do a familiar Pixar short to many of you to recall kind of like some themes or lessons as we watch. So keep those in mind as we watch and as we listen to the story. All right. So there was a lot of themes and lessons to be had in that short film. Let's take a look at a tool that should be familiar to many of you here, and see if we can come up with ones that we saw here. So I'm definitely thinking there's a few of these on here that I'm seeing. Definitely courage. So the bird faces fear. He was kind of like imagining the water was gonna like hit him, and he managed to still kind of get through that. So that could be something that we could use to sort of think about, to write about. Another thing I saw was like this responsibility. He needed to feed himself, so he kind of figured out how. Like the mom, like kind of left, kind of showed him like how to feed himself, and then kind of left. And then it was kind of like up to him to kind of figure out like how to do that. It's his responsibility to feed himself, right? Um, so that could be a possibility there. And it's kind of interesting in the end because he like ends up feeding like all the other birds. Another one that I saw was determination. Never give up. He didn't give up. He didn't let the fear win. He managed to find his way out of the problem of the water kind of overtaking him. So those are three really good themes that we could maybe think about and maybe use to write a story off of. I'm really thinking that maybe this responsibility is the thing I want to focus on, because when the mom was like showing him how to cook, or how to open the shell, like, see, like, here's the shell, this is what you need to do. I'm thinking that would really be a good idea for a story. I'm thinking that the story that I want to write is about responsibility. Maybe it has a male character, I'm thinking, and they need to figure out how to feed themselves. Maybe that could be the story that I want to tell. I don't think I'm going to have um, an animal character here, but I think I'm going to have a human character. So as I go to write this story, I want to remember that I have to write my story so that it reads like a story. It has to be, obviously my characters, my setting. I think my setting is going to be like, like a regular, maybe here in Brooklyn, like a regular apartment, I think. And then I want to show action and reaction, dialogue, and inner thinking. So let me get started with what I come up with. Bam! The apartment door flew open, and Ralphie threw his books down in disgust. He stomped into the kitchen and threw open the door to the fridge. Nothing except mustard, half an onion, and some weird brown stuff his grandma liked to eat. Just then, Ralphie remembered. Oh man, I forgot. Mom gave me money to buy stuff for dinner. Why didn't I buy it on my way home? Now I have to go out again. This is the worst day ever. When is this ever going to end? So right there, you see what I did? I definitely included action. Setting. I described the apartment door flew open. It's in an apartment. And then reaction, right? He threw open the door to the fridge, and there was nothing in there. But what was his reaction? Oh, he realizes that he had to go and buy food. So there I'm showing action and reaction. I have some inner thinking here, which isn't quite dialogue, but it is inner thinking. Let me continue on. Just then he heard the sound of his grandma's slippers shuffling down the hall. Is that you, Ralphie? Grandma Inez called out. Yeah, Grandma, I'm going to the store. Do you need anything? His tiny grandma poked her head into the kitchen. She smiled a toothless grin. How's Grandma's big boy? So right there, I'm including some dialogue, right, between the grandma and Ralphie. I definitely am trying to include some precise details. Just then he heard the sound of his grandma's slippers shuffling down the hall. I might want to include the sound, like shh, 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 right? With the precise language. And it kind of helps you sort of picture in your mind and make that mental movie of that kind of thing. And so that's what I want you to be doing here, right? Oh, I would continued on here. Ralphie blushed a little and rolled his eyes and said, I'm fine, Grandma. I'm going out. What do you want? Some more coffee and cookies? So right there, Ralphie is blushing. He's reacting to Grandma calling him her big boy. I know some of you maybe sometimes get called some embarrassing nicknames Maybe it's embarrassing to you. I know I did when I was a kid. All right, so those are the things I want to make sure that you're doing as you get back into this work of writing stories, right? I showed you a strategy for how you can go ahead and generate some ideas. So I want to make sure that you're paying attention to themes or lessons that might pop into your mind. Maybe there was one that you watched in that video that could be helpful to you as you come up with your own idea. I want to make sure when you go to write the story that it reads like a storybook story. It includes characters and setting and action, reaction, dialogue, and inner thinking, all those good things. Making sure that you're showing the why the characters did a particular action, right, with the inner thinking and the responses. And then, of course, using precise details in that descriptive language so that the reader can really picture, make a mental movie of the setting and the characters and the events. Okay, I've listed some tools to help you. Not only the theme tool that you saw previously, but also I'm going to include these tools here: narrative writers goals, and then techniques. So some of the goals are like introducing characters. What are some ways that they could maybe do that? It could be through dialogue. It could be through description, right? All of these things are things that writers want to do when they tell a story, and these techniques are ways in which they do them. So use these tools to help you do this work. Good luck. I cannot wait to read your stories.